Hey everybody, it is good afternoon, good evening. It is June the 6th, Monday, June the 6th, 2022, and hope you've had a beautiful weekend and that you've had a great day today and a good launch to the beginning of your week. Today is the 6th, and we're going to be looking at some of the Psalms that go with today. So today is the 6th, and so we're going to look at Psalm 6, 36, Psalm 66, and Psalm 126. And I've entitled today's Daily Manna, Purge the Infection That Pervades Me. I was thinking about how when you're sick, right, when you're infected with something, your body responds in what way? Your body responds with a fever, right? It gets hot. It begins to try to fight, to burn away, to kill the infection. There are times where when you're really infected, you also have to. The other thing that can help with a sickness or an infection is extreme cold. So sometimes you'll have to be put in extreme situations to be put in ice, and it's uncomfortable, but it's to keep you from dying. There are whether you've got an open wound, if you put that in ice cold, water, it can kill what's trying to kill you, or a searing, blazing heat that has to burn the infection. And none of those things are comfortable. The freezing cold in that way feels like it wants to kill you, but it's there to heal you. The burning fire that seems like it's wanting to cause you pain is intended to bring you out of pain. It's intended to be a temporary pain to give you newness of life, to kill the infection. And as we look at the Psalms today, one of the things that we see is this need that we have for the Lord to purge this infection, this me first infection that pervades us, this rebellion in my own heart that sometimes I'm unaware of, that can lead to my own place of being weak and broken and tired. And we'll see the Lord working through that in these Psalms. And ultimately coming out of that, coming out of the tears, coming out of that pain into the joy of healing, into the joy of restoration, into the rejoicing in God doing the very thing that he does. Psalm chapter 6, or Psalm 6, excuse me. Psalm 6:1 is a psalm of David. Verse 2, he says, and again, because I don't have, Wednesday will be back to normal. We should be back in the book of Isaiah on Wednesday, by the way. But so this is a pre-recorded one. I don't have the verses on the screen today, so I'm reading out of the Tree of Life version. But we're going through looking at the Hebrew, and it's been, by the way, I want to let everyone know, it's been kind of neat in different venues. Different online venues. So, for instance, most of you guys that watch Daily Manna, it's on YouTube, and you're mostly have been an ongoing part of our congregation or our live stream. But the Daily Bites have been on TikTok and on Instagram, and that's reaching and impacting a whole separate segment of folks that may not be aware um, of the ministry at all. And so it's exciting to see just um, the opportunity to get the word out to a variety of people. And so there'll be times that maybe in the Daily Bite you'll be like, yeah, this is something that I've heard before, but it may be something that we may need to be reminded of, and it may be something that others haven't heard, and it's the very thing that they need to hear today. Okay, so Psalm 6. David prays, he says, Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger. Do not discipline me in your wrath. And so there's this opening, pleading with God, asking the Lord, not if you're going to reprove me, if you're going to correct me and discipline me, I don't want it to be, I don't want to get to the point where it requires your anger and your wrath, right? I want you to truly just work in me. He says in verse 3, he says, Chaneni, be gracious to me, be kind to me, there's a generosity of show favor to me, because I am weak, or I am fading Feeble, he says, I am. That's I myself, I'm weak. I'm at the end of myself. He says, heal me, Adonai, for my bones are shuddering with fear. So there's a genuine recognition of his condition. Lord, please don't. I'm at a place of weakness. I'm at a place of brokenness, a place of recognition. I need you, Lord. I need your healing. I'm weak. I'm the very depth of me uh, is is shaken. So I need your kindness to me. Please don't discipline me in your wrath. He says, heal me, Adonai, for my bones are shuddering with fear. Verse 4, as is my soul. And you, Adonai, how long? Until when? How long? He says, my innermost being, my breath, my life is shaken, is shuddering. How long, Lord? Verse 5, it says, Shuvah, turn toward me, Adonai. Deliver my soul, like snatch my soul, save me, Hoshiani, save me because of your chesed, because of, as a result of your love, your chesed, because of who you are. So I'm calling on the character of the Lord. I'm calling on him to show favor, right? Because that's who he is. He is the Lord gracious, or Hanan. He is favor giving. That's who he is. I'm calling on the Lord to heal me, and to save me, to rescue me, to deliver me because of who you are, Lord, because of your chesed, because your loving kindness, your covenant love and loyalty. I'm appealing to the very character of who God is. Verse 6, he says, for there is no memory of you in death, in Sheol, in the place of death, in Sheol, who will praise you? Who will acknowledge you? I'm worn out with my groaning. Every night I make my bed swim, drenching my pillow with tears. My eyes are weakened with grief. They age because of my enemies. Verse 9, he says, away from me, all you evildoers, all you workers of iniquity, all you away from me, all turn aside from me. Many, he says, turn aside from me, all you, those who are twisting things up. There's a commitment to, I want your way and your way alone. Turn away from me, all you who want to twist things up. He says, for Adonai has heard the sound of my weeping. He has responded. He has heard. He has shemad. He has heard and responded to the sound of my weeping. Adonai has heard my cry for mercy. Um, he has heard my supplication. So within the word for supplication, it's a prayer. Supplication is a prayer for favor. It's a prayer for Hanan, for that favor or that graciousness, the generosity of the Lord. He has heard that prayer. Um, he says, may all my enemies be ashamed and stricken with terror, right? May they be exposed. May they be those who are looking to squeeze me, to oppress me. May they be exposed, he says. May they turn back in sudden disgrace. So he's calling on the Lord in his weakness, Lord, to deal with me favorably. Excuse me. Um, and it's in that place of weakness. It's in that place of, I am at the end of myself. I need you, Lord. And Psalm 36 is this amazing psalm of contrast, and there's a number of ways um, you can read the opening verses. This again is a psalm of David, um, and the language here, if you look in the Tree of Life version, says it's an oracle of transgression within my heart to the wicked one. The NASB says something like this, says something like it's a word to the wicked one concerning his heart. But literally this verse says, it says Naum Pesha. It's a word, it's an utterance concerning the rebellion or the transgression, um, concerning the rebellion, and then Le Rasha, to the wickedness, Bekarev Levi, which is to the wickedness in the midst of me, in my heart. Right? So this is a word, David says, this is a word, an utterance concerning the rebellion to the wickedness that is in my heart. This isn't about the wicked guy out there. This has to do with the rebellion that is in my condition, with the wickedness in my own heart. So concerning that, again, this is an utterance about my rebellion, about my wickedness. And concerning that, it says, there is no fear of God before his eyes, right? So, uh, again, some versions will say transgression speaks to the wicked deep in their hearts. But the passage actually speaks to my heart. It's easy to point to wickedness, to rebellion, to them, to the other guys. But the Lord wants to deal with me. And when my heart is operating in rebellion, when I'm living in rebellion against God, and I'm walking in that, there is no fear of God before the eyes of my heart in those minutes. When I'm in rebellion, I'm not in a place where I'm fearing, reverencing, in awe of the Lord, when I'm recognizing who the Lord truly is. So in this utterance about the heart of rebellion, it's descriptions. This is the descriptions of the inner workings of my heart when it's in rebellion. It doesn't fear God. It looks like this. Verse 3 says, for he flatters himself in his own eyes, too much to notice his iniquity or to hate it. The Hebrew here literally reads, he smooths things out toward himself in his own eyes, right? The condition of the sinful, rebellious heart spends its time excusing myself, smoothing things out, making everything out work in my favor, right? So much to it where it continually says, no, you're okay, Cosmo. You're not a problem with you. This is them, the wickedness, and not dealing with the rebellion in my heart. And it works in such a way. The heart is deceitful above all things, Jeremiah said. The Lord says to Jeremiah, who can know it? And he says, I, the Lord, search the heart. I know the heart. I test it. The rebellious heart spends so much time flattering itself, excusing myself, that I can't even notice the twisting in my heart that's destroying me. I can't notice too much to notice his own to notice his own twisting, his own iniquity, or to even hate it. Right? Because the rebellious heart doesn't glorify God; it glorifies itself. It flatters itself. And so he's still speaking of this rebellious heart. David writes, verse 4. This is what my rebellious heart does. His mouth's words are iniquity and deceit. He has ceased to be wise and to do good. Right? The words of the rebellious heart, the inner conversation of a heart of rebellion, of iniquity, ends up being an inner conversation that's full of, here it says it's full of iniquity, but it's this word aven, which is twisting or sorrow, mischief, and deceit. So there ends up being self-deception. There ends up being self-pity. Poor me. Always looking out there to make the blame. And the result of that inner dialogue is a cessation of wisdom. Like I'm always the victim here. I'm never, and when I'm always the victim, I can never grow from what the Lord is allowing to happen in my life. When I face pain, when I face difficulty that the Lord is using to get my attention, but I'm always just a victim, and I'm not responsible for any of this. It's the end of wisdom. I can never grow in the midst of that. It's the end, the cessation of the ability to actually do good. He has ceased to be wise and to do good. And the rebellious heart is continually twisting things in its own favor, even when you lay down to go to sleep. Verse 5 says, even on his bed he plans sin. He puts himself on a path that is no good, never refusing evil. Right? And so now the psalm takes a beautiful turn now. And the character of the rebellious heart of humanity is contrasted with the character of the Lord. So there's my rebellious heart. And then this next section opens up with the name of the Lord. This is what my heart is like. It's always lying. It's always twisting things. It's not fearing the Lord. And so it stops. There's no wisdom and there's no doing of good. There's none who does good, not even one. He says, but the name of Adonai, and by the way, the name of the Lord bookends these verses, these three verses. It says, but your love, Adonai, your chesed is in the heavens. Your faithfulness, your emunah, your faithfulness, your truth, your dependability up to the skies. Verse 7, your righteousness is like the mountains of God. Your justice or your judgments, your mishpat, your dealings with people are like the great deep. You preserve man and beast, Adonai. Right? So these words are like this covenantal boundary marker, right? They show that the Lord rules over. They give us he rules over all. Within the you can know the Lord's safety in here, in the heavens, to the clouds, like the mountains up high, like the great deep. His God's character, right? His chesed fills the heavens. It's above all. His emunah, his truth, his dependability, his reliability, his faithfulness. It's not deceptive in any way. My deceitful heart leads me astray, but his truth is above the earth, is until the clouds. So love and truth cover us and surround us. It says your tzedakah, your righteousness, your rightness is like the mountains of God, right? It's firm and they're in view and you can see his righteousness and it's strong and it's unmoving and it's the highest earthly point. It's something I can look to, your righteousness and your justice, your dealings are like the great deep. Beyond what we can see and what we can understand, we trust in the dealings, in your dealings with your creation. They are like the depths of the deepest. They're the deepest depths, right? So righteousness and justice are this undergirding foundation. They are like the mountains and the deepest depths. You preserve, you deliver both man and beast. It speaks to the kindness of God's character, his overarching kindness, that he cares for even for the animals, for the beasts. Verse 8 says, how precious, how valuable. When it says precious, sometimes when you hear the word precious, we're like, oh, isn't he precious? But it has to do with something that is of costly costly and valuable. It says, how precious is your love, is your chesed, O God. The children of men find refuge in the shadow of your wings. They drink their fill from the abundance of your house. You give them drink from the river of your delights. And the river of your delights is the river of your Eden, right? The abundance of your house here speaks not to the temple per se, as the temple hadn't been built yet when David wrote, but it speaks to creation as God's house. From his house, from all that he has given us, we are filled. And we drink from the river of Eden, from the river of his delight, from the river that he always intended for us. Verse 10 says, for with you is the fountain of life, is the spring of life. It's the wellspring of life is with you. There's no life elsewhere. In your light, we see light. That's where we have or we perceive light, only in you. Life comes from you and you alone. We see only in you and in you alone. You are our source, Lord. So who do I trust? Do I trust the rebellious heart? See, we trust ourselves, right? In our daily decisions, in the things that we do, we trust our instincts often. We trust ourselves rather than saying, what do you want, Lord? What do you say, Lord? What do you desire, Lord? He's faithful. But the heart of rebellion is not. It twists and it destroys and it ceases to do good. But all he does is good. He preserves both man and beast. He is trustworthy and reliable. So he says, continue or extend your chesed, your loving kindness to those who know you, and your justice, your righteousness to the upright in heart. May the foot of pride never tread on me, nor the hand of the wicked drive me away. There the evildoers lie fallen, not thrown down, not able to rise. So he's praying. It says, "May the foot of pride never tread on me," but it actually says, "Let it not enter me, let it not come upon me, let it not." The word that's used is "bo," to come to me. Let not pride enter me, or a hand of wickedness be what makes me. The word here, drive me away, is to make me aimless or wander. The evil and the pride, that are so indicative of the heart of rebellion, the heart that destroys. He says, may that not enter me, and may that not cause me to wander. Because in those places where pride and self-centeredness are at work, there, verse 13, the evildoers lie fallen, thrown down, not able to rise. So when we come to Psalm 66, and this is a psalm that is being sung, we're going to find that the psalmist here has been delivered from a time of difficulty, has come through this infection, has come through a time of distress, a time of captivity, in which they made a vow to the Lord, said, God, if you get me out of this. And the psalmist opens by basically saying, look, this is just what God does, because this is who God is. And he points back to God's working in the Exodus. And Psalm 66 verse 1 says, shout joyfully to God, all the earth, sing the glory of his name, make his praise glorious, say to God, how awesome are your deeds. Because of your great power, your enemies cringe before you, or they kneel before you. They're bowing before you, even if they don't want to initially. But because of how awesome are your works, your power is so massive that your enemies must kneel before you. Verse 4 says, all the earth, the whole earth bows down to you and sings praises to you, and all sing praises to your name. He invites everyone, says, come and see, verse 5, the works. Walk and see the works of God. How awesome what his deeds for the children of Adam, right? So how awesome is everything that he's done for all of humanity, is what it says. It's calling the nations, calling all the earth to bow down. Come and see what the Lord has done. How awesome are his deeds for the children of Adam, for humanity. He turned the sea into dry land. They crossed the river on foot. There, let us rejoice in him. It says he rules by his might forever. His eyes keep watch on the nations. Let no rebels exalt themselves. Right? The one who rules in might forever, whose eyes keep watch on the nations, says the rebellious ones will not rise up against him. Rebellion will not ultimately win. So again, when we go back to Psalm 36 and we look at the rebellion in our hearts, and it's saying, hey, to the rebellious, submit to the Lord. Stop rebelling. The way of rebellion is a way of destruction. It's an oracle concerning the rebellion in my heart. But the Lord, his love reaches to the heavens, his faithfulness to the clouds, his righteousness like the mountains, his justice undergirds us like the mighty deep. And we can't always grasp it all. So the rebellion will not rise up against him. Verse 8 says, bless our God, O peoples, let the sound of his praise be heard. Keeping our soul in life, he has not let our foot slip. Right? The reason to bless is different um, from earlier. Here it's focusing on God saving us, not just through bringing us through the sea, but in the form of guidance and correction. Right? He kept our soul in life. He has not let our foot slip. And then verse 10 says, for you have tested us. Right? It's the word used here has to do with a metal tester, one who looks closely for impurities. You have looked, O Lord, you've tested us, O God. You have purified us. You've melted or liquefied us as silver is refined. So one who is listening can certainly hear, of course, the echoes of the wilderness wandering. God has kept us among the living with this dramatic rescue at the sea, but also providing for us in the midst, keeping us alive through the wilderness. And he has his guidance, his miraculous. There's not just miraculous deliverance like the Red Sea, but the hand of the Lord at work in the purification, in his refining of us, right? Like I was talking about at the beginning of the fire that melts away the impurities. In the moment, it doesn't feel good, but it's the hand of God, the work of God, bringing us to true life. Verse 11 says, you brought us, or you made us go. You caused us to go into a net. Literally, it's into a stronghold, into a mountain. You laid, or you placed a burden, a hardship on our backs. Verse 12, you caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and water, yet you brought us out to superabundance. You brought us out to a saturation, right? So having experienced that deliverance, we're now in a place, the Lord brought us through difficulties. The difficulties were to bring us to a place of freedom, that the Lord allowed us to go through the difficulties. He allowed us to be brought into a net. He laid a heavy burden, a crushing upon our backs, allowed men to ride over us. We went through fire and water, and you brought us out to abundance. You brought us into freedom, into life. And so now, what is our response here to all that the Lord has done? And the world is sort of eavesdropping here on what God is doing. Is He's brought His people out of Egypt. He's forming them into His own people, bringing them into the land, into superabundance, into this place flowing with milk and honey. And so now Israel's story becomes the story that God is calling the world toward, right? He called us. We say, bless us, Lord, that we may be a blessing. Like He says to Abraham, I'm going to bless you that so through you all the families of the earth will be blessed. That God's heart is always for the whole world. And so calling all the nations to come and hear. And so Israel now with burnt offerings, I will come to your house, fulfilling my vows to you that my lips uttered and my mouth spoke when I was in trouble. To you, Lord, I will present burnt offerings of fat animals with the sweet smoke of rams. I will offer bulls with goats. Verse 16, come and listen, all you who fear God, and I will tell you what He has done for my soul. I cried out to Him with my mouth, and exaltation was on my tongue. Verse 18, and this is key. It says, if I had cherished iniquity in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. Right? Earlier in the psalm, we read of those who cringe before the Lord, who will bow before Him, not from a place of heart submission, but simply because they must. They have no alternative. They outwardly bow, but it is a false submission, right? Because it's not a heart bowing. But here there's a contrast. The psalmist speaks of what was in his heart. He says, if I would have been continuing to have visions of twisting, of iniquity, of sin in my heart, if I had cherished that, wanting more of that in my heart, the Lord would not have responded. The Lord would not have listened. The Lord sees to the depth of our hearts. He wants a genuine heart submission to Him. It says, but indeed God has heard. Surely God has heard. He has listened to my voice in prayer. He has been attentive to my petition, right? Verse 20, blessed be God who has not turned away my prayer, nor His loving kindness from me. And then finally, Psalm 126 today, a song of ascents. When Adonai restored the captives of Zion, it was as if we were dreaming, right? So this is on the back end of the exile, right? You allowed us to go through this. You allowed us, Lord, to go through fire and water. You allowed us to go through difficulty, to awaken us. You allowed us to be either bathed in ice or to have to put a fire to the infection so that we could live. And we've come out of that fevered infection with newness. And this is the other side of the pain. This is the other side that we didn't think we were going to make it through the Lord's discipline, but into life. And it says, when Adonai restored the captives of Zion, it was as if we were dreaming. Then our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongue with a song of joy. And they said among the nations, Adonai has done great things for them. Verse 3, Adonai has done great things for us. We are joyful. Restore us from captivity, Adonai, like streams in the Negev. Those who sow in tears will reap with a song of joy. Whoever keeps going out weeping, carrying his bag of seed, will surely come back with a song of joy, carrying his sheaves. Continue to walk in faithfulness. Continue to bring your heart to the Lord. Continue to sow what the Lord wants to sow that in your family, to sow that in your home, in your community, to sow His word in your life. You keep on perpetually sowing His word into your life, continuing to say, Lord, deal with the heart of rebellion in me. Take me through whatever it takes so that I come through this fever, through this infection, Purge this infection that pervades me so that I can come out into a season of life and rejoicing into the fullness of all that you have for me. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, shalom. Have a beautiful day.